Putin's not going to invade Ukraine. He's not going to launch a full-scale invasion. It'd be crazy to invade Ukraine. Oh, hell, he invaded Ukraine. So that's exactly how it happened. Vladimir Putin has launched a full-scale attack and assault against the sovereign nation of Ukraine. He has launched long-range cruise missiles and taken out critical infrastructure all across Ukraine. This includes airports, power generation facilities, communications facilities, radar facilities, facilities for air defense. The Russians have also launched a series of helicopter attacks against both civilian and military airports in Ukraine. I mean, we have got flows of refugees just streaming out of Ukraine. All flights have been canceled out of Ukraine and into the country as well. People are clogging up the roads. You will see giant, convoys and caravans of people just in their cars trying to get the hell out of the country because they understand that they are in significant danger with the invasion that is to continue. People are taking shelter in the subway. The subway stations are doubling as bomb shelters, and Ukrainian President Zelensky has issued an actual call to arm civilians. He's actually giving away arms to anybody who wants to resist the Russian invasion of Ukraine. And it doesn't seem like there's a lot of foreign military intervention. I mean, the United States, NATO certainly not intervening on Ukraine's behalf. Britain, France doing nothing, or at least not intervening militarily to defend Ukraine. So it looks like Ukraine is on its own against Russia in this battle here. Now, Putin's goal is to change the regime and impose a much friendlier regime to Russia, or potentially annex the entire state as part of Russia. Earlier this week, today's Thursday, earlier this week on Monday, Putin recognized independence for the two most eastern parts of Ukraine, Donetsk and Luhansk. And so this was a severely underhanded move into saying, oh, those, parts of your country, well, no, they're now independent. That would be like saying Vermont and New Hampshire are now independent, and then Canada intends to let them join. And so I believe, yes, it was Tuesday, the Russian spy chief gave a speech saying he welcomes the new republics of Donetsk and Luhansk into the fold as, full Russian provinces. And Putin had to come out and tell him, no, not yet, man, not yet. We can't do it yet. Because, of course, they had to, have this cover of these states being independent. We support their independence. Their independence from Ukraine. And of course, they will end up being annexed as part of Russia. So, recent invasions by Russian President Vladimir Putin and the country of Russia itself. Russia invaded Georgia in 2008 when Georgia attempted to join NATO, voted as free state to join NATO. Putin invaded, make sure that didn't happen. Putin also invaded Ukraine in 2014. The Ukrainians ousted their Russian-friendly president, Dmitry Medvedev was his name. And so he was a devoted acolyte and follower of Vladimir Putin. He was ousted by the people of Ukraine in a revolution, and they brought in and elected a new democratically elected leader. Putin, of course, intervened to make sure that didn't happen. And Medvedev did end up losing his power, but Putin retained power over those eastern regions, the Donetsk and Luhansk regions, okay? And so those were run by pro-Russian separatists in the area. Now, this invasion, the largest invasion in Europe since World War II, I mean, make no mistake about it, this is an earth-shattering invasion and a serious move on the geopolitical stage. For my entire life, for many of our lives, we have not seen wars between serious powers such as Ukraine and Russia. I mean, Ukraine is no really minor nation. They certainly have an advanced military. And so we need to kind of understand why this would happen. And so I would say the number one reason is a weak United States on the world stage. the world order since World War II has depended on the United States saying, no more invading. You can't just invade and conquer other countries, or we're going to mess you up. We've seen United States failures in Afghanistan, the botched and severely embarrassing withdrawal and really abandoning of Afghanistan, of Americans and Afghanistan and Afghan allies, made the United States look extremely weak and unable to accomplish much on the world stage. In addition, we have the case of Syria. Now, Syria doesn't get too much press in America because we did not launch boots on the ground. But guess who did put boots on the ground? Vladimir Putin and the Russians put boots on the ground. Vladimir Putin and the Russians invaded Syria, backed the dictator Bashar al-Assad. The United States backed the pro-democracy Syrian rebels. But who was successful? It was Bashar al-Assad, and it was Vladimir Putin who got his way in Syria. So, of course, that emboldened him. He felt that he's going to get his way. Back in the Obama administration, President Barack Obama had issued a red line on Syria and said, if there is evidence of Russian forces using chemical weapons, then they will face a serious American response. America will respond in kind. And America did not respond. There was evidence of Russians using chemical weapons, white phosphorus being chief among them. White phosphorus is this weapon that will burn through anything. So you put it on a building and it'll just burn through the whole thing. It'll burn through your skin. It'll even burn through your bones. It is such a horrible and deforming chemical weapon. But Obama did not want war. Obama didn't want war with Russia. Obama didn't want war with Syria. He didn't want to intervene and get himself in a Middle Eastern quagmire. So what did he do? He backed down. And that is the reason why Putin felt he was able to take Ukraine today. So we've got Afghanistan, we've got Syria. The United States has been unwilling to engage in a conflict with another large power. And I understand that we don't want to start a World War III over here. But we do have to understand that this unipolar system of world peace kept in place by American dominance was only there because America would threaten other countries if they invaded their smaller, less powerful neighbors. Now, that's exactly what Russia's doing, invading its smaller and less powerful neighbor, but America is not going to come to Ukraine's aid in terms of military intervention. And if it does, Biden will prove me wrong. Okay, why does Russia do this? Well, Putin is willing to engage militarily. He engaged militarily in Georgia in 2008, in Ukraine in 2014. He engaged militarily in Syria with dictator Bashar al-Assad in backing him up. Russian troops were on the ground there. So Putin and the Russian people seem to have no problem engaging these conflicts and putting their boots on the ground. In fact, overseas wars, they are a drag on the United States president's popularity. Look at what happened to President George W. Bush. By the time he was finished with his 8 years in office, he was extremely unpopular because of the invasion quagmires in the Middle East. But an invasion like this improves Vladimir Putin's popularity. It improves his standing with the Russian people because he is able to sell to them that he is reestablishing Russian greatness, reestablishing Russians as being important in the world, as dictating what happens in the world, and not being pushed around, but being able to say, we are Russian and we are some of the most powerful people in the whole world. And if you think that means nothing, I don't know what world you've been living in, because even though, people might not have as much money as others, they might have a lower GDP per capita in Russia, but if you can give them the pride to say, we are some of the strongest in the world, well, of course they will follow you, and of course they will follow Vladimir Putin. So it's very interesting how the incentives, this leads to an inevitable conclusion that the Russian people are okay with war or want war, and the American people don't want war. And that's why Russia's invading Ukraine and the United States is doing nothing, because basically the will of the people. Okay, other things that were required for this invasion to happen. So like the invasion would not have happened if any of these things didn't go a certain way. All right. After the Soviet Union broke up, remember the Soviet Union broke up about 1989 to 1991. Ukraine was an integral part of the Soviet Union, known as Little Russia back then. Many nuclear weapons were stored and kept and housed in Ukraine in missile silos and such. When the Soviet Union broke up, Ukraine became its own sovereign country, and they still had the nukes. They still had the nuclear weapons. So how is it that they're just losing their entire country right now when they had nukes? Oh, right. In the year 1994, the United States, Russia, and Ukraine signed an agreement in which Ukraine would give up voluntarily its nuclear weapons. I don't think this has ever been done in any other country. But Ukraine volunteered to give up its nuclear weapons in exchange for this agreement that Russia would never invade or violate Ukraine's territory. The nukes were given up for a piece of paper, and Putin is ripping up that piece of paper right now. Now, I have no doubt the United States pressured Ukraine to comply at the time, because one of the United States' main goals is nuclear non-proliferation, letting as few other countries other than the United States gain access to nuclear weapons as possible, because that would keep the United States in control, and that would also lead to a lesser chance of global annihilation when some crazy country decides to start a nuclear war. Okay, so required things. If Ukraine never gave up their nukes in 1994, this never would have happened. Russia would not invade them with the threat of nuclear war. This never would have happened if the United States had not lost in Syria. Okay, if Putin was emboldened by his success in Syria. This never would have happened if Obama did not back down after his red line of use of chemical weapons was crossed and he did not respond to the Russian use of chemical weapons. This would not have happened if Biden did not flee Afghanistan so embarrassingly last summer. And this would not have happened if Russia was not successful in the 2008 invasion of Georgia and the 2014 invasion of Ukraine. And so those were the things that were required for this invasion to happen. And many, I would say, Putin apologists, perhaps really activists against American imperialism, might and certainly have defended this move by Putin and said, look, these are only ethnic Russian areas. Putin is just taking back what the Russian people deserve. I mean, they're ethnically Russian. They speak Russia. They should be allowed to join Russia. This is the exact argument made in favor of Adolf Hitler annexing the Sudetenland in the 1930s from the neighboring country of Austria. So we look at how Hitler rose to power. One of his moves was to say, look, this piece of Austria, it's right next to Germany. I mean, it's got so many German people in it. It's got German speakers. I need to go in there and protect those German people. And so he launched an invasion of the Sudetenland in Austria. The great powers did nothing. Britain did nothing. France did nothing. United States did nothing. And this, of course, emboldened Hitler to later on conquer all of Austria and then later on conquer all of Poland. And that finally triggered Britain and France to declare war against Germany. But this move, for people to say it reminds them of Hitler in the Sudetenland, they're absolutely freaking right. Absolutely. And, maybe it was the Sudetenland on Monday, and today, Thursday, it's all of Ukraine. I mean, these attacks have been all over Ukraine, in the north, in the south, in the east, in the west. There is no area of Ukraine that's not getting attacked right now. So this is rank conquest by Vladimir Putin. I mean, this is going back to the days of empire and just trying to take over a land because screw the people there. Now they're going to, live under your rule. Many people say this is a bad move by Putin. This puts Russia in a much more powerful situation. Russia, by doing this, I would say, has destroyed the United States unipolar system. There is no longer one world power. There are multiple world powers. It is the United States. It is Russia. It is China. And those are the three right there. Now, France has potential because they have a serious military power, long martial tradition, strong economy. Britain, of course, has potential as well. But I would say that those are the three world powers right now.